Find the derivative of f of x equals 4 over x squared minus 3 over the square root of x. Then evaluate f prime of 4. F of x here is made up of the subtraction of two terms, 4 over x squared minus 3 over the square root of x. We can therefore take the derivative of each of the terms separately and combine the results by subtraction. In order to be able to take the derivative of those terms, which will make use of the power rule, I need the x's to be in the numerator and be raised to a power of some sort. So our next step is to make that happen. The first term is 4 over x squared. We can move that x squared to the numerator by calling it a negative 2 power. The next term I can't move just yet since it's not x raised to a power, but we can make it x raised to a power. The square root of x to the first power, x to the first power over the square root or the second root, x to the 1 over 2. I can also move that to the numerator by calling that one a negative exponent multiplying with the negative 3. By rewriting this, I now can use the power rule to find the derivative for each of those. F prime of x is going to equal the first term, bring down the negative 2, multiply with the 4, negative 8, x raised to the negative 2 minus 1, negative 3. The second term, bring down the negative 1/2, multiply it with the negative 3, x raised to the negative 1/2 minus 1, which I will write as minus 2 over 2. So I'm going to have negative 8, x to the negative 3. The second term, I'm going to multiply the negative 3 and the negative 1/2. Now we can think of the negative 3 as being over a 1. Multiply the numerators, negative 3 times the negative 1 is a positive 3. So plus 3 over 1 times 2, which is a 2. And then x raised to the negative 1/2 minus 2/2 is negative 3/2. My next step, I'm going to rewrite these by taking those negative exponents and moving them back into the other position. They're in the numerator right now. Let's put them in the denominator to the positive exponent. That'll just make it easier to evaluate. Negative 8 over x to the positive 3 and plus 3 over 2 and the x to the positive 3/2 will be down there in the denominator with the 2 that's already there. So there's our derivative, f prime of x. Our next step is to evaluate f prime of 4. So we'll plug a 4 in for each of the x's. Negative 8 over 4 cubed plus 3 over 2 times 4 to the 3/2. 4 cubed is 64. And then 2 times 4 to the 3/2. 3/2 means power of 3 and root of 2, or square root. And you can go in either order here. You can cube it and then take the square root, or take the square root and then cube it. It's going to be easier to do the root first. The root of 4 is a 2. And then we will cube the result. Now the first term we can reduce by a factor of 8, numerator and denominator. That'll give us a 1, and then the 8, a negative 1 over 8. Plus 3 over 2 cubed is 8. So we will have a negative 1 over 8 plus 3 over 16. The next step is to get a common denominator. 16 is divisible by 8, by 2. And therefore we need to multiply that first fraction by 2 over 2. So negative 1 over 8 times 2 over 2 plus 3 over 16. Multiplying Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. 8 times 2 is 16. Plus 3 over 16. Negative 2 plus 3, which is a positive 1, over the common denominator of 16. We get 1 over 16.